What's going on, guys? It's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and today we're going over my locks and traps video for UFC Perth. You guys know the deal. We're going to go through every single fight, and I'm going to rank them with my most confident at the very top with the locks, all the way down to my least confident at the very bottom with the traps. So without further ado, let's get right into this video. Now, first up, we got Jimmy Mullarkey versus Rolando Bedoya. Now, the thing I like about Mullarkey is that I think he's genuinely the more talented fighter in pretty much every aspect. You know, I know his chin has been a problem in recent years. However, this long layoff is going to be good for him. He's in his hometown, and that's one of these things too. I'm like, the only reason why you could pick Bedoya in this is purely because of Mullarkey's chin. But I think after seeing him have this long layoff of over a year and a half, he's going to look damn good out here, and I think he's going to be a bit more conserved, you know, not willing to really stand and bang and make it an ugly war. And the thing about Bedoya too is that he doesn't really have hardly any power in his hands. He has pillow hands, not a ton of pop and a ton of power in his hands, and that's a perfect setup for Jamie Mullarkey. This fight was made for Mullarkey. I mean, if you could have given this guy any single opponent in the entire roster for Jamie Mullarkey to give him an edge, it would probably be Rolando Bedoya. So I like him, and I like Mullarkey in the spot. Low confidence pick because that chin is still a concern. You know, we don't know. We haven't seen him in a year and a half. It still could be dust. Maybe Rolando Bedoya's pillow fist still somehow find a way to get him out of there. I don't really think so. I feel like this fight was made for a reason. Use your context clues. I like Mullarkey in the spot, and I think he's just a better fighter. Bedoya, he is 0-3 in the UFC, so it's not like you can have a lot of confidence, and the only reason why you would pick him is if you think Mullarkey's chin is really going to cost him in this, but I think the time away is going to be good for him, and I think he's going to be the better fighter, and I think he should be able to get it done wherever this fight takes place. Next up, we got Pericic versus Ellison. Now, I like Pericic in the spot. I put it as a low confidence pick because throughout the week, you know, I have been decently, I don't want to say super confident in Pericic. It's more so I made my pickup right away. When I went through all their tape, I really was not on the fence about this one at all. I've seen a lot of holes in Ellison's game that really are a concern to me, you know, in terms of if this fight goes to the ground. I'm worried if he goes there because I've seen him knocked down in one of his previous fights before, and he kind of just accepted it on the ground like he was out of it. So I haven't seen a whole lot of this guy's game. And the thing about him too is that he's only 2 years into his MMA journey. Big red flag for me. Now, on the other side, Pericic is still pretty damn green too. Both of these guys really haven't proven themselves at a high level. This should have been a Contender Series fight that they just threw on this card. I mean, he has the Australian and Pericic. It makes sense why this would have been put on here. Which it's a little bit confusing because it's like we have so many cards or fights on this card already. I don't know why this was put on there, but at the same time, the edge has got to be for Pericic. It seems like a layup spot for him to really kind of put on a fan-pleasing fight for the fans in Australia, so I think it gets the job done. It's more so, I don't think he's necessarily anything great. It's just I've seen holes in Ellison's game. I don't like his chin, I don't like his durability, and I don't like the inexperience from him, and I think it's going to make a difference here with Pericic fighting on his home turf, his hometown, and I think he's going to have the crowd behind him. It's going to make a difference. Now, this is a low-level heavyweight fight. Anything can happen. I get why the odds are, I mean, I know they're getting wider and wider, but it should be a little bit closer. Like if it goes to like a -300, that's kind of insane for a low-level heavyweight fight. But at the same time, I think Pericic should get it done, but still low confidence pick because they're low-level heavyweights. Anything could happen. Now, next up, we got Lookboonmee versus Thainara. Now, I like Thainara in this spot. You know, I really like her. I think she's aggressive. I think she's powerful. I think she's strong. I think she has a grappling threat that's really going to pose some problems for Lookboonmee. But the thing is, like, I have this as a medium confidence pick because I didn't want to just quite rush her up to a high confidence pick just yet because we really haven't seen a ton from Thainara. You know, we've seen on her regional scene she did have some holes in her game that I think she's been able to patch in terms of her striking. But at the same time, very green, very aggressive. Not super green in terms of like her fight career, but in terms of her being in the UFC, she's only had one fight so far, and it was pretty quick within a round. So there are some question marks you could still have about Thainara. Like, all right, how is she going to look against a higher level competitor? You know, Molly McCann had the holes in her grappling game, so it really didn't tell us a ton. It's just more so that Thainara is a dominant grappler who can really go in here and make it ugly on the ground. And I think that's going to be enough for me to really give me confidence that she's going to be able to get the job done against a girl like Loma Lookboonmee. Because Lookboonmee does have good stand-up. You know, she has a good Muay Thai base that she does use pretty well in her fights. The thing about Loma, though, is that she doesn't have any power in the hands. She's not going to be able to create any damaging shots for Thainara. The damage is going to be one way, and it's going to be Thainara landing some bombs. She throws heavy, like, nukes in her hands. She throws a lot of crazy shit. Like, she throws some haymakers, don't get me wrong. But I just think her explosiveness, her power on the feet, she's going to be causing more damage. You know, maybe she's not going to be as technical as a girl like Lookboonmee is, but at the same time, I think she's going to have more damage in her shots. I think she's going to have the crowd going more, I guess, wild. You know, when she's landing, you can really see like, oh my goodness, even on her Contender Series fight, when Thainara was landing these big shots, it's like, damn, this girl could really pop people. So, and it's the exact opposite with Loma. She doesn't have any finishes, and she has one sub over Elise Reed in her entire UFC career. That's not really giving me any type of good feeling that, okay, maybe she can put some work on Thainara. I don't think so. Now, and I think especially too, the striking will be probably where this fight is the most competitive. I still think Thainara is going to have the power advantage. She's going to be able to land some bombs. Loma might be able to hit her with a couple things too, because there are times where Thainara can be a little bit defensively crazy. But I think when this fight gets to the ground, I really like Thainara's aggressive, strong base. I think she's going to be able to take it to the ground. And I think if she does take it to the ground, she's going to be the better grappler and just able to kind of bully her way through this fight. Loma, I was watching her most recent fights, and I feel like I didn't want to underestimate Loma's ability to hang in the grappling, and especially in her last couple fights, like I talked about in my full breakdown videos yesterday, because I was looking through her fights, and I was like, you know what, Loma's takedown defense isn't terrible. She doesn't look bad on the ground. Today I went and rewatched her fight against Louie Godinez. And I was like, because that could be a similar stylistic matchup here. Not saying that Thainara is like some wrestler like Loma, but like Louie, but in the sense of a strong, like heavy, dense grappler, wrestler girl. How is that gonna kind of match up against her? Because we've kind of seen that before in Loma's fight against Louie Godinez. And I wanted to give Loma or Lookboonmee a little bit of credit in that fight, because her takedown defense and her grappling did seem a little bit fine. And that's kind of how I remembered it. But in the sense of when I watched that fight back today, I went and saw that there were really a lot of moments in that fight where it more so wasn't even that Lookboonmee's grappling was great. It was more so Louie Godinez offensively made a bunch of different small little mistakes that cost her positions, and it was kind of more so Louie Godinez making the mistakes on her own end, as opposed to Loma really looking great and getting some like crazy reversals and stuff like that. And because she had like one or two reversals throughout that fight. I think it was like in the second round, and it was more so when I watched it back today, I was like, it was more so Louie doing dumb things and really giving the positions up. And I think against a girl like Thainara, I don't doubt her abilities on the ground. I don't think she's really having as big of a fight IQ problem as a Louie Godinez has shown us in the past. So I know I'm rambling about this one, but I like Alexia Thainara. I think she's going to keep it very competitive on the feet, but land the bigger shots. And I think if she's able to take it to the ground, she should be able to dominate a girl like Loma Lookboonmee, who's shorter, stockier. She's going to be a height and reach disadvantage. I don't know how she's really going to get her way out of some tricky spots on the ground. As long as she can really kind of dominate her and push her will and like impose her will in this fight, I think Thainara should be a step ahead, and I think she should be able to dominate wherever this fight could go. But like I said, I have a medium confidence pick because we haven't seen a ton from Thainara. Obviously, we've only seen one fight in the UFC, and it's kind of one of those things too, where it's like she's really rapidly improving her game. So every fight is going to be I feel like a different version of her for the next couple years. But so that's like something to keep in mind of, like, I don't want to overweight or put too much emphasis on her last performance, but at the same time, I don't really want to completely underestimate Lookboonmee either, because she has had a lot of experience in the UFC, and we really get to see her throughout multiple different stylistic matchups with different girls. So I have it as a medium confidence pick for that reason, but I still think Thainara should be able to get it done. So that does it for this one. Next up, we got Tafa versus Sutherland. This is a low confidence pick for me. Sorry, I'm just moving this shit around. This is a low confidence pick for me purely just because Tafa is just not really proven anything of any value. Now, he is the UFC veteran, and this standpoint, Sutherland making his UFC debut. But at the same time, Tafa really, if he can't just box against a chinny guy, what success is he going to have? I don't really trust his heart. I don't trust his durability. I don't trust his skills if it goes to the ground. Now, Sutherland doesn't really like to take it to the ground all that much, but I feel like this is one of those fights where it's like the game plan is so clear from Sutherland, like, all right, just take this guy down, ground and pound him. That's your way to a victory. We might see some stuff from Sutherland that we really might not have seen in the past. It's not like Tafa has a great takedown defense to keep it on the feet either. So I think if he can extend this fight, he can really make it ugly for Tafa. And I think he's going to probably start to take over the longer this fight goes on. And especially with Sutherland too, he's a durable guy. He's not getting finished. He's pretty durable. He can hang. It's the stocky ass base he has. There's like almost no neck. There's like no movement for his head. I mean, it kind of makes sense why he's been able to be so damn durable throughout his scene on the regional, or his career on the regional scene. But yeah, I like Sutherland in this one. Still, same thing, low level confidence pick. It is some sloppy heavyweights. They're going at it. It's going to be a war. Tafa does have the hometown advantage here, but I'm really not going to weigh that on him too heavily. So I'm going to go with Sutherland, but at the same time, anything can happen. I don't really see Sutherland getting pieced up and getting knocked out in the first round. I wouldn't expect that to happen. It could, but I feel like this fight probably could go a little bit longer. I think Sutherland could really start to take over the longer it goes. Although, like I said, sloppy heavyweights, anything could happen. So low confidence pick for a reason. Now, next up, there we go. We got Jimmy Crute versus even Erslan. Now, I got this as a trap for a reason. in my full card breakdown video, if you guys watch that, when I was talking about Erslan's striking is so one-dimensional, and he relies so much on his right overhand, and it's like pretty much his left hand. He fights in orthodox position, in an orthodox stance. I mean, his left hand, his lead hand, he throws these pitter-patter hooking jabs. I don't know what the hell he's doing with them. It's almost like his left hand is non-existent. He can't work behind the jab because he has no jab. His lead left hook is not very good either. It's like nothing about his left hand. It almost seems like it's limp in his fights, and that's like any high-level striker can easily be able to really pick that apart. And I don't think Erslan's going to have a ton of success at a higher level. As we've seen, he hasn't had any success in the UFC. It's because of that. It's easy to really know exactly what he's going for ahead of time. Anything with his left hand, it's just a setup for the right, and it's not going to have any real pop on it. It's not going to really have any power. It's not going to be a concern. You just got to worry about him spamming the overhand, spamming it over and over and over again. The thing is, though, against a guy like Jimmy Crute, we have seen defensive vulnerabilities in Jimmy Crute's striking. We've seen issues with his durability in terms of his chin. We've seen a lot of issues with Jimmy Crute, and he has not been the most reliable fighter in the past. So to have him as a 2-1 favorite is concerning. And that's why I have this as a trap, because it's like, yes, if Jimmy Crute is able to take it to the ground, and if he's able to take Erslan to the ground, he should be able to dominate and win even if it's through a decision or a submission, he should be the better grappler, and he should be able to control guys on the ground. But we've seen time and time again from Jimmy Crute, his cardio is a problem. He might dominate early on, but let's say Erslan's able to survive, make it dirty, get into the third round. I could see Erslan getting a third round knockout over Jimmy Crute. It could happen. Or on the other hand, though, Jimmy Crute, maybe he takes it to the ground, gets the first round submission. There are just a million different outcomes of this fight, depending on how it could look, and a lot of them come down to Jimmy Crute's IQ, fight IQ. I mean, that's literally what I'd say the majority of the different situations or outcomes of this fight come down to Jimmy Crute's ability to fight a smart game plan. And we've seen time and time again, he has not done that. So that's why I have this as a trap. Now, I'm still picking Jimmy Crute. I'm not going to pick Erslan because there's a chance he could land the overhand right on Jimmy Crute's chin. I will not be surprised if he gets knocked out. However, I think Jimmy Crute is going to be levels ahead on the ground. And then the cardio is something, he can work on and develop. And the thing about Jimmy Crute that I do like too is that the last couple losses that he had, and I guess the no contest wasn't great either recently in 2025, or it was either late 2024, early 2025. But since his second resurgence back in his career after his short little break from the sport, he's so damn young. He's only 29 years old. He's really going to be able to show improvements in terms of his fight IQ, his overall skill set. He can patch these holes in his game. He's just been in the sport. He's been in the UFC for so damn long too. It's people kind of make it seem like he's got no more room left to improve in the tank, and it's I just don't think so. I think he's reaching his physical prime. We're going to see the best version of Jimmy Crute in the coming 2-3 years. We haven't even seen that yet from him, so I really like that aspect of his game where I think we're going to keep seeing him improve, and I like the mentality shift from him and his resurgence in the second stint in his career. He's a whole different guy, and I think he's going to show us a good version of him, but I have it as a trap just because I don't want people to just parlay up Jimmy Crute in every single pick. They're like, oh, Erslan's garbage. He's 0-2 in the UFC. Jimmy Crute is, he can submit him easily. He'll just get a round one submission like that. You can't overlook or just instantly just kind of write this one off of I don't need to think about that. There are a lot of red flags for both guys here, so I have it as a trap for that reason. But I guess I still have Jimmy Crute as the pick, but at the same time, just be hesitant about this fight. But next up, we got Jack Jenkins versus Ramon Taveras. Now, I got Jack Jenkins as a medium confidence pick because there's just a path for him to win this. Ramon Taveras, he's not going to present anything out of the ordinary or anything unknown. He's not going to present any real grappling threat, as we saw Jack Jenkins struggle with it his last fight. But at the same time, it's he's going to fight the fight that Jack Jenkins wants to fight. A boxing match on the feet. The thing I like about Jack Jenkins is I was going through his stats today, and that's why I kind of bumped this up a little bit because I do think the line is a tad wide. But what I do like about Jack Jenkins is that this is going to be a striking match. This is going to be a boxing match, and Ramon Taveras is a boxer. He's not a kickboxer. He's just going to use his hands. And the thing I like about Jack Jenkins is that he lands 1/4 of his total significant strikes that he lands are from the leg. That's from where he's landing, and I like that. If he could really bust the lead leg down of Ramon Taveras, it should be able to really slow his movement and slow him, and it should really help him a lot in the later stages of this fight. He just needs to get there. As long as he doesn't get clipped or anything, he doesn't get hit by some nuke, because Ramon Taveras does have some power in his hands, but I think as long as Jack Jenkins can really eat away at that lead leg of Ramon Taveras, he should be able to have his way here. Because I was looking at their stats too. He has the switch stance base where Ramon Taveras, I believe, is the southpaw. So at least he's going to really struggle if he's not able to switch his stances. I just want to triple check this because I was looking at this right before. Yeah. So Jack Jenkins is the switch stance. Ramon Taveras is the southpaw, like I just said. So if he can really beat that lead leg down against a boxer like Ramon Taveras, who really doesn't have a ton of dangerous other aspects of his game, like it's not like he's some BJJ whiz, I think that'll really help him in the later stages of this fight, like I said, and I think that could easily be a path for him to kind of just, I don't want to say coast through a win, because he has to be careful of the power coming back his way, but I think the path is there. He should be able to win this fight through really beating up that lead leg, keeping his distance, not doing anything stupid. He should be able to coast his way to a win. He could get a knockout, but at the same time, I think Jack Jenkins, how old is he? 31 years old too. He's reaching his physical prime. I feel like his intelligence, his fight IQ is not, it's not a huge red flag for me in the sense of it really worries me. So I think he has enough in the tank to get it done here, and I think he should be able to win against Ramon Taveras. So I got him as a medium confidence pick here. Now, high confidence pick, we got Matthews versus Magny. Jake Matthews should be a high confidence pick here for a reason. There's really no way that Neil Magny could win this fight other than Jake Matthews throwing it. If he does some stupid shit, pretty much it's either Jake Matthews, for him to lose this fight, he'd have to do some stupid shit or gas out. And I'm not worried about his cardio, so it's more of a doing some stupid shit. We have seen Jake Matthews caught before. We've seen his chin tested against when he fought Selmsberger. That was not a good look, but against a guy like Neil Magny, he doesn't have the power to be dangerous against a guy like Jake Matthews. So I'm not really worried about that aspect at all. It's more so Jake Matthews just not shit in the bed. That's really what this fight comes down to. So in a situation like this, you gotta have him as a high confidence pick. He's gonna be younger, he's gonna be faster, he's gonna have more pop in the hands. The grappling should be competitive, but I think, because I know Neil Magny, I think he just recently got his black belt, like pretty recently in one of his recent fights afterwards, and I think it's going to be very competitive in terms of the grappling. You know what I mean? I don't think Jake Matthews is a very good grappler too, so I don't think it's really going to be, it's not a concern for me. That's kind of what I'm trying to get at here. It's not, I don't think Neil Magny's going to wrap up some submission against Jake Matthews. I don't see that happening at all. I don't see Neil Magny getting a knockout here either, because I don't think he's dangerous enough. So I think Jake Matthews, being the younger guy, being the faster guy, he's fighting his home turf. There's literally everything going for Jake Matthews in this fight that he could ever imagine. This is like the layup of a matchup. That's why the odds, I seen that they're tightening up a little bit. So I don't know how they're gonna look come fight day. It got up to like minus 500 or something, which that's pretty damn wide. Now I checked today earlier, it was like minus 380 or something. It's still a bit wide because Neil Magny is a crafty-ass MF, and at the same time, Jake Matthews has had some issues being a reliable fighter, so I kind of get the hesitation behind it, but at the same time, there's really a very, very high likelihood that Jake Matthews runs away with this fight, so I like Jake Matthews as a high-confidence pick. Now, next up, we got Micallef versus Elliott. Now, I am so on the fence about this one, and I was going to have this as a low-confidence pick, but I moved it to a trap because I was thinking about it today. I was like literally going back and forth, and I was like, I pick flipped on this one too. Originally on my full card breakdown, I think I chose Elliott ever so slightly. I might have. I've gone back so many times that I might have had Elliott, I might have Micallef. I kind of forget at this point. But I got Micallef right now selected ever so slightly as a trap. And the reason I put this as a trap and not a low confidence pick is because there's just so many damn unknowns, and I don't want to say weird variables, but there's so many unknown variables and weird aspects of this fight that really make it almost impossible to have a really based opinion about it. Now, you got Micallef on the one hand. Now, he looked good in his fight against Kevin Josette, but he was really, there's not a whole lot of diversity in his striking. He's really spamming leg kicks, he's spamming a jab. I mean, it's pretty rudimentary. There's not a whole lot of tricky stuff to really kind of unravel. He's not like a mystery that you kind of got to figure out and get your reads on. With Micallef striking, it's pretty straightforward. And I think a veteran striker like Oban Elliott, I know they're damn near about the same age, but I mean, Oban Elliott's had more experience in the UFC. Against Oban Elliott, I think he's going to be able to really kind of read what's coming his way. And I think he is a high fight IQ level striker. And I think he does have a good grasp of the game, obviously. And I think he's going to be able to really kind of I don't want to say pick apart, but I don't think Micallef's going to have anything for him that's going to be a surprise, catch him off guard, or anything like that. With when his most recent fight against Ko, where the grappling really kind of just fucked him up. threw his groove off. He had no answer to it, no solution. I just don't see that type of thing happening here. Micallef seems like he's going to fight the same game plan that we've seen in the past, not really change anything up, and I think Oban Elliott's going to be able to adapt well. However, you just look at the stats, it's like kind of crazy here. Now, I was looking at Micallef. I was trying to figure out the exact inch reach here he has. Sorry, let me pull it up. I think it's like a 5-inch reach advantage he has, which is absolutely nuts. Now, sorry, I'm pulling it up. Yeah, 5-inch reach advantage. Now, and they have the same height, which is kind of interesting. And the thing is, though, is Micallef is also a southpaw fighting an orthodox fighter. He's going to have that natural advantage. He's going to be able to have a bit of an easier time in this fight than Oban Elliott will. So there's just a little things of like, all right, you could look at it as like, all right, you got Micallef. He has the reach. He's fighting in his home turf. He's the southpaw fighting the orthodox fighter, and he's on a little bit of a good momentum right. You know, with Oban Elliott, his momentum just got completely halted. So who knows what his most emotional, mental state is at? You know, how is he going to look in this fight? He's had this whole persona throughout his career in the UFC as being this like super confident, like very, I don't know, macho man, like a little bit of swagger. How is that going to look coming off of a pretty horrible loss? There's just so many unknowns about this fight. It does concern me. And at the same time, you can't really overrate Micallef because we have only seen him beat one guy in the UFC who I'm pretty sure Kevin just said got cut. So there are just so many concerns from both guys and things left unturned, like things that are unknown, that we still have so many question marks up that I have it as a trap for that reason. I think both these guys are decent fighters, and I think it's going to be a good scrap. Whoever wins, we'll have to see. But I got it as a trap for those reasons. I almost had it as a low confidence pick, but I was like, screw it. We'll just throw it in here too, because I got a multiple low confidence picks. So anyway, does it for this one though. Now, next up, we got Ulberg versus Reyes. We got the main event. Oh, sorry, let me move my face out of the way. Bada boom, bada bang. Move myself up there. Now, I got this as a low confidence pick. There's no way I'm picking Carlos Ulberg just because, well, one, I'm biased. I am biased towards Dominick Reyes. I will say this is a biased pick. However, you look at who Dominick Reyes has fought. You look at who Carlos Ulberg has fought. Who is Ulberg's best win? 42-year-old Jan? That's not really giving me a ton of confidence. You know, yeah, he's had success, but it was like, that was a dicey fight too. It's like, even when his most recent fight against Jan, that was not the best look. It was a 29-28 where I remember I had money on him and I was like, oh shit, Carlos Ulberg might have been a little overrated, maybe a little overhyped, you know, and I get it's a higher weight class, so you can hang in the older ages. I get it. Jan's a good fighter, obviously, but at the same time, considering how he performed in that fight, and considering the guys that he's lost to in the past, and I don't think I mentioned this in my full card breakdown too, but the interesting thing about this is that Carlos Ulberg, last time he got knocked out was against Kennedy Nchukwu, who is a southpaw striker. And now he's fighting Dominick Reyes with knockout power, who's also a southpaw striker. Something to consider. He does not have a great run against southpaw strikers. We've seen holes in this game before, because I was going through his record. That's literally his last loss was 2021 against Kennedy Nchukwu. Now, Kennedy Nchukwu does have an insane reach. I was like, what is this guy's damn reach? It's crazy. It's absurd. It's 83 inches. So I get it. That is a bit of an unusual striker to go against, but still, he's had issues with the southpaw in the past. We have a striker like Dominick Reyes who has that real nasty knockout power. The thing I will say about this fight, though, is that both of these guys can be a bit hesitant. You know, Dominick Reyes is a good counter striker, so I could see this fight being a little bit slower. You know, it might be something like a Jamal Hill versus what's his name, Khalil Roundtree. It could be something similar to that type of fight where these guys are really trying to kind of, I don't want to say point fight, but kind of like pick their opponents apart, you know, kind of like figure out how, get their reads early on. You're like, I see this going a little bit longer, a bit slower of a pace, which will be interesting to see who can really have their way here. But I like Dominick Reyes' chance, man. You could say I know he technically lost, but you could say the man beat John Jones. And I know he had the bad run with the bad knockout losses. Trust me, I get it. Getting pieced up by Ryan Spann is not the best look. I get it. However, Dominick Reyes, 2025, is a whole new man. I like him. Low confidence pick just because I respect Carlos Ulberg's game. And Dominick Reyes' chin is still definitely a potential concern. It could be a problem in this fight. Carlos Ulberg isn't some world beater, but at the same time, the man does have, he has some power in his hands, and he could definitely, either guy could get knocked out here. I don't want to say either one has a real power advantage. But it's like, I don't know. It's tough. I have this as a low confidence pick for a reason, because it's like my heart is with Dominick Reyes. But at the same time, even like, this is a biased pick for me. But at the same time, like, when I break it down and try to be as objective as possible, I'm like, what has Carlos Ulberg really proven to us from his recent performances to warrant him being a minus, 250 favorite over Dominick Reyes, who arguably beat the best light heavyweight of all time? I mean, you got to make it make sense for me. Make it make sense. So for the picks, I get why people are on either side. Carlos Ulberg does have some crazy momentum he's been on. It seems like he can't lose at this point in his career. I totally get it. He's fighting on his home turf, his home crowd. Everyone's going to be going crazy for him. I totally get it. But at the same time, I feel like this line is completely shot. I like Dom Reyes. I want to hear the comeback story. And I think he could easily get the job done against Carlos Ulberg. So pick is Dominick Reyes, but low confidence pick. These are two high level strikers. Anything could happen, especially with these big boys. So that does it for this one. Next up, we got Montague versus Carolina. Another trap. Now, I'm picking Montague, and I'm like, I think she finds a way to win this fight. However, I have this as a trap because for the people out there who might not have watched any tape on Montague, her striking is abysmal. It is non-existent. She has no hands. I mean, she has no hands at all. So if you're picking on her, right? If she was a plus 300 underdog, I'd be lock her in. But her being a big favorite like this, not huge. I think her line's like minus 2 something at this point in time. Let me check it right now. She is a minus 240 favorite. It makes sense. Like, I get why the line is where it's at, because really, if she can get to the ground and she can grapple, she's going to look like a minus 1,000 favorite if she can just hug Carolina down the entire time and really just make Luana suffer on the ground, wet blanket her way to a win. That could very easily happen. But you got to think, if Montague cannot land takedowns, and it's one, she has to land the takedowns, but two, she has to be able to control Carolina on the ground, not let her back up. That's a whole other battle. So if she's not able to do that, she's screwed. I mean, she's fucked. She's going to get pieced up on the feet, and she will lose a decision or knockout, whatever it might be. She will lose if she cannot get it to the ground and have some type of success on the ground too. She's going to have to take her down and hold her down. We have never seen Montague either. We've never seen her go to a decision. Well, we saw her in the amateurs. We've seen her take a loss. She took a loss to the same girl because she couldn't land takedowns, and she got pieced up. Luana Carolina is not a bad striker, and although her takedown defense hasn't been great, and a lot of people have been able to take her down, pretty much everyone who's tried to take her down is able to take Luana Carolina down, and that's why I'm picking Montague in the spot. However, UFC debut, it's a whole nother different level of competition. Montague, in her debut here, she's really going to have to, if she cannot implement her will, and she can't force her game plan upon Luana Carolina, she will lose this fight. So I have this as a trap because it's like, she only has one way to win. That's like, she has one way and one way only, whereas Luana Carolina, she's not bad off the ground. She could get a submission. That's possible, and especially with Montague too, we don't know about her cardio. She starts to slow down. Later it goes on with the heavy grappling game plan. How is she going to look in the third round? Luana Carolina can hang. So, ton of red flags in this fight. And I get why people are picking Carolina. It makes a lot of sense. You say, okay, we're getting this girl who's just rear naked choking, like one trick ponying her way through her career. And she's fighting lower level girls. Now she's going to the UFC. We've never seen her go long. Luana Carolina is pretty durable. So this is a trap for a reason. Be careful with this fight. But yeah, I got Montague as the pick. I feel like she hasn't really been stopped yet in her pro career, at least. I feel like we've seen Carolina taken down so many times by pretty much everyone. I feel like this is a spot where Montague should shine. But at the same time, the second she fights someone with great takedown defense, she is going to be screwed. So, picks Montague, but trapped for a reason. Oh, shit. Next up, we got Nolan versus Campbell. Now, I almost had this as a trap too, but I didn't put it as a trap because we're going into this knowing exactly what we're going to see. We're going to have two crash outs, go to war, they're going to stand and bang, and it's going to be fireworks. I'm actually excited for this fight because it's going to be ugly. Someone's going to get pieced the fuck up. Someone's going to bed. It's just a matter of which one, and the odds reflect that, and they're pretty damn accurate. Now, I don't want to say I have big concerns with Nolan because he's young. And that's the thing. It's like, I don't want to say it's like a write-off for him because he's so young and green that like he's going to keep getting better and better and better and better as time goes on. I just think he's in the wrong weight class. It seems like, to me, he seems like a Sam Patterson. At lightweight, he's going to have, and he does have chin problems where guys touch him up. They touch his chin. It is a problem. He gets hurt quite often considering his short run so far in the UFC. he's getting hurt quite a bit. And that's not a good sign. Especially, I think it's just the size, man. The cut has to be bad for him. Cutting down at 6 foot, what is he, 6'3", I believe he's at. And then for him to cut all the way down, let me see. Yeah, 6'3" to cut down to 155. That's got to be tough on anyone. He should be fighting up. So I think that's going to be a lot of the reason why he has these chin problems. And against a guy like Charlie Campbell is not a good guy to have chin problems against. Now, Charlie Campbell, we have seen him knocked out before. Don't get me wrong. We saw Chris Duncan fuck him up. But he almost had Chris Duncan knocked out. I mean, he was putting the works on him. He just got a little too over-aggressive and got caught. I've almost thought about pick flipping on this one, and I'm like damn close to pick flipping. It's just the short notice step-up aspect of flying halfway across the world that does really, it's the part that's holding me back. If this was in the Apex, and both these guys had a full camp, I would take Charlie Campbell. I would take him. But it's not the situation we're in. We're taking Nolan, the local Aussie. Now we're fighting in his home turf. And Charlie Campbell has to fly halfway across the world, or across the world, and he's taking it on short notice. Nothing's really going for his favor in that regard. So I'm like, oh, man, this is a tough one. I think either one, I think someone's going to get knocked the hell out. Whichever round. It could easily be the first round. It could be a second round knockout. The thing with Tom Nolan, too, is Tom Nolan's mentality is kind of the same with Charlie Campbell. Like, these guys are going to war. They want to stand and bang, and they're defensively a bit reckless. So this is just a recipe for a knockout. Someone's getting pieced up. Like I said, Tom Nolan could get the knockout here. He could maybe keep it from distance, use his reach, use his kicks to really maintain distance. But at the same time, he's not used to really find out guys like the similar size to him. Because, I mean, Charlie Campbell, he's at 6'0", and they have basically the same reach. So this is going to be an interesting fight between these two. You know, I think it's really going to be the more technical striker is really going to have their way here. And no matter of who do you think that is, it's kind of who you got to go with. But at the same time, I like the durability of Campbell more than I like the durability of Nolan. So I'm not having it as a trap because I feel like we know exactly what we're going to see. It's just kind of a matter of like a pick your poison. Kind of like the Tafa Sutherland fight, kind of like the Pericic Ellison. It's like you got guys that are just going to go out. It's probably going to be ugly, and whoever's able to have the better chin and the better durability is probably going to walk away with their hand up. And this is just another one of those, even though these guys are a lot lighter in weight. But yeah, no, I'm picking or Nolan here, sorry. But ever so slightly. I'm this close to pick flipping to Campbell. I'm just waiting until weigh-ins. You know, I'm going to see how has Campbell really had this short notice weight cut. Like, how is it going to look on him? How is he going to really look on the scales? Is he going to look sunken in? Is he going to look sick or anything like that? We got to see. So I'm waiting on that for my final pick for this one. But that does it for that. Now, next up, we got Thickness versus Busasa. This is another one that I keep going back and forth on. I've literally, by the time I made this video from yesterday when I uploaded the full card breakdown, I have pick flipped twice on this damn fight. I watched all the recent fights back, and I'm like, all right, I don't want to give Thickness shit because he couldn't take Topuria 2.0, or I guess older brother 1.0. But I don't want to give him too much shit because he couldn't take him down. I'm like, it's literally the same genetic makeup of one of the best fighters on earth right now. I'm like, the same genetic build, you know what I mean? Like, he's got to have the same type of twitchy, fast-paced muscle fibers that Elia has, that wrestling base is same size. I mean, it's like a genetic copy of a freak of nature elite fighter. So I'm like, obviously, the technical skills don't carry over, but in the sense of, I'm not surprised that both Topuria brothers have very good wrestling. Like, it makes a lot of sense, and I don't want to really hold that against Thickness for not being able to land a lot of takedowns, or I don't think he landed any, but I don't want to hold that against him, because he took that fight on very short notice, fighting a good opponent, and that's the only real high-level competition we've seen him against. So I don't want to completely write him off in this fight, and because the best way for him to win this fight is going to be wrestling and getting the takedowns. So I'm like, on that side, all right, I don't want to write Thickness off, but I don't want to give him too much credit. But on the other hand, you have Busasa, where I'm like, in his Contender Series fight, he was fighting, I forget the guy's name, but he trains with Merab, and I'm like, the dude's takedowns, he was taking Busasa down, but Busasa has this ungodly athletic freak nature ability to just pop right back up. I mean, he'd just pop back up. He'd get taken down, scoot his ass to the cage, work his way up against the cage, and then he's back on his feet. I mean, like, the dude is just relentless. He will not let you hold him down. It's like trying to hold on to a cat that doesn't want to be around. You know, it just like will jump right off. Like, it's literally, that's how Busasa looks when he fights. Like, if you try to take him down, good luck, man. Good luck. You can't do it. So that worries me, fighting a guy like Thickness, where we haven't really seen him have a lot of success in the grappling against a guy who's a good, decent, wrestling success against a good, decent wrestler, you know? And Mousasi, now, I don't think he's technically a great wrestler by any means, you know? It's not like he grew up where it's a high level of wrestling in the fucking Congo, but at the same time, I've seen his takedown, or his ability to get back up at least, look pretty damn good against a decent wrestler. It's probably about the same level of thickness, but the main concern, the reason why I'm leaning thickness ever so slightly, is purely because of the grappling. Now, thickness, I was reading, he's been training with Volk since he was 18 years old. He trains BJJ with Craig Jones. So I'm like, he's training around elite guys, and he's been a black belt since 2022. The guy is 26 years old. He's been a BJJ black belt for years at this point. He's going to have such a grappling advantage. If at any point this fight goes to the ground, Mousasi is going to get subbed up. I mean, it's highly unlikely that if thickness takes it to the ground and he gets to Mousasi's back or gets to a top position, anything like that, you have to assume this fight will be over as long as he can hold him down. So I have my concerns here. I do. It's like, can thickness take it to the ground? Can he hold him down? Can he really control him and try and wrap something up? Who knows if he can get it there or keep him there? So that's why I have this as like the lowest of the low. If Mousasi is able to keep it on the feet, no, I don't think thickness is a fish out of water on the feet. His striking's fine. It looked decent against Topuria. But at the same time, it's like Mousasi is very quick. He's very powerful. He's going to have the power edge here. And I think on the feet, he'll probably be a step ahead. It really just comes down to, can thickness wrap up a submission? Can he take it to the ground? So coin toss, gun to my head, I'll say right now I got thickness. I'll wait for weigh-ins to see how these guys kind of match up and face off too, maybe for the final pick. I'm super not confident in this one. It could go either way, but I got thickness ever so slightly, the lowest of the low confidence. But next up, we got another trap. Promise, this is the last trap, boys. Ralston versus Petroski. Now, I've gone back and forth on this one a million times, and I originally had Ralston in the full card breakdown video. I pick flipped on this one too. This is one of those fights. Now, the thing with Petroski that's really kind of holding me off of him is the short notice step up. He's taking this fight on about, 3-something weeks notice, which is a concern, especially when his cardio is a red flag of his game. You know, he has to wrestle heavy. He has to really hold guys down. That's his base. And his cardio has been a concern in the past. And now he's taking a shorter fight a fight camp that he hasn't really had a whole camp to train for. And he has to fly halfway across the world. There are concerns with Petroski, and I totally get it. But this is just one of those fights. The more I thought about it, I slept on it overnight, and I woke up. I was thinking about it today, and I was like, man, we just saw Cam Ralston get dominated in the wrestling by Torres Finney. And I think Torres Finney is not as good as a wrestler as Petroski is. In my right mind, can I look at myself in the mirror and see that and then go, yep, nope, I'm going to pick Cam Ralston? I'm like, Petroski has the UFC experience edge. He's a veteran. He's been able to smother guys and dominate guys on the ground. And we've seen Cam Ralston dominate against Torres Finney where we don't even know how good he is. We haven't really seen him tested at all. So I am so reluctant on this one, and I feel like it could go either one of two ways. Now, I could see Petroski coming out here, shooting a takedown, and knocking himself out again. I could see that. If he gets knocked out and Cam Ralston looks like a minus 1,000 favorite, I can't say I'd be mind blown. But at the same time, I could live with that, and I'm more happy. I'm more able to deal with that than if I pick Ralston and Petroski just wet blankets his way to a win. Because I'm like, dude, we have seen that exact outcome with Torres Finney, and he's not as good as a Petroski. And we've seen that happen recently too. It's not like that was 5 years ago. Within the last year. I can't do it. I can't. I got it as a trap for a reason, though, because Petroski, if he slows down, Cam could knock him out in the short notice. Across the world step up is a concern. We've seen him slow down before, and if he can't get the wrestling going, he's going to struggle. Ralston's probably going to be able to use his reach and his length advantage here, and he's probably going to keep distance and probably win minutes on the feet, and it's in his hometown. If it's a very close fight back and forth, it's going to go Cam Ralston's way. In the same time, too, in the same boat, it is Cam Ralston's hometown. So let's say Petroski's wrestling him against the ground and he has control over him, but he's not landing any damage. Oh, dude, I could see the ref just standing them up. Oh, stand up. Nope. Inactivity, stand up. I could see the ref doing some shit like that. So for those reasons, like, I'm very, very hesitant here. There's so many red flags from both guys. I got it as a trap for that reason, but I got to just pick Petroski. I can't, in my mind, like I said, I can't pick Ralston after we saw him get taken advantage of on the ground with the wrestling with Torres Finney, and now he's going to get up against that same exact archetype of fighter. I just can't do it. So, but still a trap for a reason. But Finally, we got Sterling versus Bellato. Now, I like Sterling a lot. Now, I think Sterling is a tad bit overrated. Now, I've said this before. I think he's a bit overrated. I think there's some kinks in his game that he needs to really work out the older he gets. And the thing is, he's green though, so he's going to do that. I have confidence in his ability to do that. I think he's just, his physical build, he's just like built for this shit. He's City Kickboxing looks at him and they're just rubbing their hands like, all right, yep, he's one of us. He's going to be our next prodigy. Is he going to be that next guy? I don't really know. But at the same time, they're built for that over there. So it's like, I like him and I like his game and I like how he's kind of advanced from. He's had that kickboxing base. He's kind of looked a lot better in the grappling and he's kind of shown that off in some recent fights. So I think his game is going to really develop in the next couple years and he's going to really start to show his ability to be a well-rounded fighter. And against a guy like Bellato, I just think he's going to be a step ahead everywhere this goes except for pure BJJ submission abilities. I think that's really Bellato's only chance to win this fight. His chin is a major problem. Sterling is a good kickboxer. I think it's a matter of time before Sterling touches that chin. And even if he doesn't knock him out, if he just touches that chin and hurts Bellato, that's the round. That's the round. Then Bellato's got to win 2 rounds back to back after getting clipped. I don't see it happening. I don't see it being like a Jimmy Crute type of situation where Jimmy Crute completely death gasses, gets a 10-8 and goes to a draw. I don't think Sterling would really push that type of a pace. I think if Sterling hurts him, he might try and follow him a little bit. I don't think he's going to try and go for a damn leg lock against a Bellato. You know what I mean? Like I don't think he's going to want to follow him to the ground all that much unless he gets to a real dominant position where he could easily stand back up. So I like Sterling. The only way, it's like the same thing with Jake Matthews where I feel like his only way for him to lose is if he does some stupid shit or gasses out. I feel like the only way for Sterling to lose this fight is if he just willingly tries to grapple with Bellato, takes it to the ground and does some stupid shit on the ground and gets caught in a submission. Other than that, I don't see Bellato hurting him on the feet. I don't see Bellato outstriking him on the feet. I don't see Bellato having the wrestling base to take it to the ground. I think Sterling should be able to cruise and coast his way to a win so long as he doesn't fuck it up himself. So, that does it for all of these. Now, I know we got no lock pick. I know. This is one of those fights. Now, if I had to pick it, this is how I would have it. However, I'm not going to leave with no lock. If I had to pick a lock, you can already see it, I guess, but if I had to pick a lock, this is what we would do. I'd have to lock in Jake Matthews. I just feel like between the two, I was kind of going back and forth between Sterling and Matthews. And I figured, okay, Matthews, the way he could lose this fight is the cardio or doing something completely stupid, like allowing Magny to take him down and just accepting being on the bottom. And because Magny, if he gets on top of you, he can land some decent ground and pound. That's where he can fuck guys up, especially if they're tired. But other than that, I'm like, Magny's not going to chin him. He's not going to submit him. He's not going to wrestle and take him to the ground. I mean, you don't really want to work the clinch against Magny. Magny can have some success in the clinch, but I think Jake Matthews should be the cleaner striker. It's keeping some distance. If he wants to engage close, he can. But I don't see a world where he's going to lose this fight to Neil Magny other than death gassing, and I'm not worried about that either. So if I had to pick a lock, it would be him. Whereas with Sterling, like we just talked about, he could, if he did something stupid on the ground, I think Bellato will have the better BJJ game. Bellato could wrap up a submission. That's not like a completely lost outcome that could never happen. That definitely could happen. So I can't really put Sterling as a lock. That would just be doing way too much. But so if I had to pick one, it would be Matthews. But anyway, guys, that does it for the video, for the locks and traps for UFC Perth. Let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Let me know your locks. Let me know your traps. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of these. I love to hear your guys' opinions. But in the meantime, thank you guys so much for watching. It's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA. Thanks for all the love. Thanks for all the likes and the comments on the videos. Thanks for all the subscriptions. And yeah, tomorrow we'll have the weigh-in recap and the best bets video for you guys coming out here very soon. So once again, thank you guys for all the love on the videos. It's your boy Jacob from Topside MMA, and I'm out. So peace.